Hello, this is Darrell Castle with today's Castle Report. This is Friday, the 8th day of May, and this, the year of our Lord 2026. I am so happy today because my beat is not war, but mothers, which will make most people happy and uplifted because, after all, folks, who doesn't like mothers and stories about them? Mother's Day as a national holiday had kind of a dual starter, I guess you could say, a dual founders. Both of the women who started the day as a way to honor and support mothers did it because of the severe rural poverty and resulting infant mortality in their native Appalachia. In 1887, Mary Towles Sasseen from Henderson, Kentucky, led her class since she was a teacher in what is believed to be the first observance of Mother's Day. Mary traveled around Kentucky and Ohio trying to have the day recognized as a national holiday, but she died in 1906 before that happened. Schools in several states adopted the idea, and in 1926, the Kentucky legislature passed a resolution officially recognizing Mary as the founder of the day. The creation of Mother's Day as a national holiday is usually attributed to three women: Ann Reeves Jarvis, Julia Ward Howe, and Ann's daughter, Anna M. Jarvis. Ann, known as Mother Jarvis, was an Appalachian homemaker who taught Sunday school lessons. Mother Jarvis saw the extreme poverty around her and lack of education among the Appalachian rural poor, which resulted in a high infant mortality rate, a high rate of death of mothers during childbirth. She set out to educate and help the women who needed it the most, and she was eventually joined by other two women. Anna, Ann's daughter, led the fight to honor her mother and to have the day become a national holiday, and at her church, the year after Ann's death, a service was held on May 10th to honor not just Ann, but all mothers. In 1948, Anna died in what was then called a sanitarium from the effects of dementia. Yes, folks, I'm happy to have something to say that's not about war today. What better subject than mothers? Oh, I could bring war into it, of course, by talking about the mothers who are photographed holding their starving babies, perhaps for the last time. I could even tell stories about things I have personally seen concerning mothers in war-torn countries who would do literally anything for enough money just to feed their babies, but I will not do that today. I won't bring you down like that. Instead, I will report on stories of mothers right here in America. Speaking of mothers right here in America, many of my friends who are perhaps a little less conservative politically than I am, are very concerned about the plight of mothers. They are particularly concerned about infant mortality, the same as what those women I mentioned who started the national recognition of mothers that came to be Mother's Day. I wonder. So I asked them why they care so much about infant mortality. I point out to them that one day they are advocating for a mother's, quote, right to choose. The next day, they're fighting to save infants from mortality. So what gives? What's going on? Oh, wait, I get it now. I get it. Those infants still inside their mothers are not really babies at all, but just protoplasm, or more generously, just part of the woman's body. If so, then killing that child is not really murder, because we have defined the child out of existence. I guess it's like the War Powers Resolution, which unconstitutionally gave the president the power to make war on his own without congressional involvement. He is required to report to Congress within 60 days, but when that is over, he just says, no, folks, the war's over. We won. This is a new war, so I have a new 60 days. My point is, murder is murder, but homicide is a legal term awaiting interpretation. Anyway, folks, we all have or had mothers at some point, but for many of our mothers, they are long since dead. We have only the memories. Joan and I were both blessed by God with very good mothers who cared for us, who loved us to the end. It sounds like a cliche, but there is nothing like a mother's love for her child. She will sacrifice to the point of giving up her own life for that child. Let me give you an example From the animal kingdom, in my home office, I have a bay window with my desk right in front of it. There are a few azalea bushes right outside the window. Sometimes birds nest in them, especially cardinals, which like to nest close to the ground. A couple of years ago, I was working at my desk when I noticed a nest with a cardinal sitting in the nest. I didn't know it, but she was sitting on her eggs to hatch them. I watched her for a few days. She would sit there through rainstorms with rain pounding down on her, through wind that looked like it would blow away the nest. The male cardinal would come by from time to time just to check on her, I guess. One day, the eggs hatched and she had to feed the babies, so she would go away, get worms for them. Sometimes the male would contribute a worm here and there, but the mother, acting only on instinct, would give her life up for those babies. When they were at an age instinct told her was right, she threw them out of the nest and said, "Fly or die trying." They either fly or a cat eats them. We humans have developed a more humane way of dealing with our young than the animal kingdom, of course, but there are similarities. The cardinal mother would never think of killing her own young for some always good reason, but our humanity has allowed us humans to do just that. When our babies are at a certain age, we still know that it's time for them to leave the nest. Sometimes we call that time graduation. Sometimes we call it marriage. Quote, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh," end quote. That's from Genesis chapter 2, verse 24, folks. That verse becomes more and more clear as we age because the child means everything to us, especially to the mother. She would literally take a bullet for that child. One day, the father takes his daughter's hand and gives it to her husband, and she has a new family, which is now her first love, as it should be. For the mother, that child will always be her child, but for the child, which probably now has children of her own, it's completely different. Well, folks, that's about enough glorification of the role of mothers for one day and for one Castle report. Finally, folks, visit your mother this Sunday for Mother's Day. If you just can't get there at all, at least give her a call, because I promise you she wants to hear your voice. At least that's the way I see it. Till next time, folks, this is Darrell Castle. Thanks for listening.